Alright, hi. This is going to be an SGDQ2020 submission. Celeste 100% relay. Just relay, not a race. I'm submitting this with Fel the Curl, Lev067, Fladervy, LMJax2, Petres Inc., me, and Flarebear. So, I'm sure people will make submission videos too, but basically, this is just going to be a back-to-back completion. Not back-to-back, but we're going to split over and divvy the levels in Celeste 100%. Yeah, so my segment, which I'm going to play, is going to be 7B, 8B, and the csides. So I'm just gonna go right into it. Let me put a real timer on screen because I am incredibly prepared. But yeah, the setup time shouldn't take that long between switching, because we are switching between 7 people, so it will be a bit hectic, but we're planning on setting up a script to change input methods, and it should be quite simple once we have everything set up. If only I can find out how to set up a timer. Alright, there you go. So start my segment in 3, 2, 1, go. And it is on game time. Here you go. Okay. This is the Summit B-side. I don't want that golden berry. So essentially, the levels I'm going to be doing in the relay are more of the difficult runners in the run, difficult chapters in the run. 7B is not extremely difficult, but it's a really cool speedrun level. As you can see, there's a lot of tight platforming. You don't really get the diversity you get on the A side, so that's showed off by other runners. So, just not my job. Of course, it functions. The B sides function very similar to the A sides. The only difference is that the B sides are harder. They have a lot more spikes and a lot less floor. I'm not going to talk too much, because especially for a level like 7B, a lot of it's just in the movement. There's not a lot of tricky stuff we do. It's just a lot of very fast movement, so yeah, more or less enjoy. It's kind of weird to go subsequently out of order, because of course this is very much late into the game. Normally in Celeste you only have one dash, and of course, we're going through all the mechanics of the game, us being in 1000 meter, which is chapter 2 right now. But, yeah, we have the dream blocks. But generally speaking, because, despite the B-sides taking a lot longer in people's casual playthrough than the A-sides, in the speedrun, the B-sides are actually, I believe in every chapter, shorter, with the exception of, like, chapter 1. That's definitely true for 7B here. Ah, heck. Yeah, this is 1,500 meter. This section's pretty annoying because we have to deal with a lot of cycles, but you get used to them after a bit. Not that one though. Yeah, death cycles are annoying. This room particularly is such a hard one that I actually just prefer re-entering the room as opposed to doing a uncomfortable death cycle. In this room, you just kind of pray that you don't hit a dust bunny, which I didn't. Nice. At 2,000 meters, we get these bubbles, these clouds, and the wind is going at all times. So definitely kills live streaming bitrate, which is great as a streamer of this game. Yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of difficulty that we don't even circumvent through cheese strats, it's just a lot of practice. and a lot of good movement, being comfortable with your character. That's what makes Celeste such a cool run, is that it is almost all movement. Of course, there are some tricky quirks, but for the most part, it's movement. This is 2,500 meter, based off of Chapter 5. As you can see, this room in particular has a lot of spikes. The margin for death is very small. Margin of error for death, I should say, as showcased by that one. But we have some pretty good strats, like that one falling onto the spring. It makes this room quite easier than if we had to go up and around that dash block. And after a couple of deaths, we're finally through. This is the last room of 2,500 meter before we get into 3,000 meter, which is, in my opinion, the coolest part of this chapter. Alright. Oops. We'll do this other strat. Still tricky sometimes to climb up on those blocks. If you don't notice right now, the wind is pointing downwards. How that works physically, I don't know, but in the video game, it basically just means we have higher gravity. We're able to overcome it pretty easy, and we go on to updraft. Now the wind is going the opposite direction, it's going upwards, so we have lower gravity. And this section is pretty fun. There's a couple of brutal platforms, like that. This flag in particular, this jump is very precise. Second tries to turn though. Slip right under these clouds. Flag 10 is an interesting one. It's kind of like a stamina puzzle, but not really. Finished out here with some climbing. Hopefully avoid all these spikes just narrowly. Nice. Now this is where the game formally teaches you how to wall bounce. It's a tech we use since the start of the game. That's probably one of the coolest things of Celeste, is that nothing is inherently unintended. All of the speed strats we do are using completely intended mechanics, like wall bouncing, which you need to know how to do to complete the game 100%. Alright, we'll just climb up to the flag here, but since this is a B-side, it doesn't end with touching the flag, it ends with getting the heart. So we're gonna go even higher than 3,000 meter, up to this area in the sky with magical blocks. And hopefully get this heart. And that is 7B. Now we'll go on to play 8B. What's interesting about 8B in a normal file is that you actually have to have everything else in the game beaten to this point. You need 15 crystal hearts to pass this door, and if you didn't notice in the last chapter, I got a crystal heart by completing 7B. Every single B side has a crystal heart that you get when beating it, and every single A side has a crystal heart embedded somewhere in the level. They're usually pretty hidden and hard to find, but yeah, you need to get those, all of them in the game to unlock this chapter, so. You basically kind of need to have the rest of the game completed before you enter this area. which makes it the best of the best, kind of. But this level is really annoying. I mean, it has what we call core mechanics. The most dreadful core mechanic is the fact that you don't get your dash back when touching the ground. Dashing is a very important part of the Celeste speedrun, but core is unique in that the strats are very meticulously planned and it's very hard to get backups. And that's because if you do dash, you can only get your dash back through refresh gems and by entering a new screen. You'll see here, my hair will be blue, I'll enter a new screen, it'll become pink again. And see if I hit this refresh gem, my hair will become pink again. But touching the ground will not refresh your dashes, which is the most common way we refresh our dash in the normal levels. So because of that, it's pretty rough. But we have some pretty good strats for this level, despite its difficulty. Yeah, Core B is generally one of the more speedrunners do not like this level, just because B-sides are really hard. But usually we can cheese them a little bit with some cool strats. Because this level is so hard, and we don't have a lot of leeway with how much we can dash, there are just not a lot of incredibly cool strats we can do in this level. We're really bound by the fact that we can only dash when the game lets us. So, yeah. There are also these fire and ice switches. Core kind of has two states, when it's in fire and when it's in ice. Typically in ice, things function slower and things are frozen you can jump on. In fire, things function faster. Like these conveyor belts are normally frozen on ice mode. But they are on fire mode. And these fireballs would normally only hurt you from below on ice mode, but on fire mode, they hurt you on all sides. So yeah. Climb over into this room. This is my least favorite room in the chapter. It's just a kind of nonsense cycle. It's really hard to wrap your head around. It's just a ton of fireballs. I'm kind of gonna cheat this room. The game wants to enter this room in ice mode, but since we enter it, it wants you to enter in fire mode, but since we enter in ice mode, we can just climb up the side there, which is pretty cool. And the next room in this chapter is really cool. It's kind of cute. Oh no. But yeah, this is the room I was talking about just because it has a mechanic from every single chapter. We have the zipper, we have the dream block, we have the moving panels, we have the cloud, we have the dash block, we have the Kevin block. The only thing that's kind of missing is a feather. But other than that, it's really cool. Alright. Now in this section of core, the lava is going to be rising from the top and bottom of the screen. If we change it from fire to ice, the direction, the kind of death barrier is closing in on changes, so we're able to live for longer. This room is really a cool strat. We preserve one of our dashes into this room, and we're going to enter the screen with a hyper dash, and because of that we can skip a switch. Nice. Another really cool room here. This is the last normal room. I'm going to get on this core block, get on the top of this one, and barely sneak under that lava. This is now the cassette, or the heart room. And just do some precise dashing. And make our way to the heart. Bravo. Now what's interesting is, this is obviously a new file, or not a new file, just so I can do my relay segment. But if you, if this was a new file, the game would proclaim that you've now unlocked csides and golden strawberries. And the csides are actually my next part of my segment, the last part of my segment. The csides are essentially these really hard versions of these levels. This is Chapter 1 c-side. These levels are incredibly challenging, but they only have 3 screens. Each and every c-side has 3 screens. No exceptions to that rule. So because of that, they're incredibly short. All 8 chapters take about 6 minutes if you don't have a lot of mistakes. so far this 1C is looking okay. Yeah, they all end with another heart. Yeah, oh, I didn't want to re-enter. I'm so used to playing from a new file, not playing on a practice file. Yeah, all these levels have fairly brutal challenges, but of course, since the speedrunners are so accustomed to the movement, it's not as challenging. We make it look quite easy. That's the way to put it. Oops, didn't jump. I have to get all these coins while I worked out this room because at the end a platform will rise up, and if that platform doesn't rise up, we would have to do a pixel perfect trick to get into this heart room here. This heart, like, corridor, concave, I don't know a good way to put it. 3C is one of the more scary ones. Chapter 3 is really renowned for its cycles, and they're quite brutal on the C-sides. But you spend a lot of time playing them, and you get a good grasp on what to do. Here we actually Boppo Shiro because we get an extra dash out of it. I'm going to do it again so you can dash to the heart. Perfect. And now 4C. This first room is a fairly standard, like, bubble, just cool platforming. This one's interesting. We have to stay on this auto-scroller block. It's not too hard once you've done it a couple of times, but it's a little annoying, I won't lie. And this is the annoying screen. We have very, very, very fast wind, if you can't tell by how fast the texture looks. Just a couple of jumps on these increasingly smaller platforms, and we'll finish 4C. I did not want to re-enter. Now we get to go into 5C. This room's kind of cool. This next room is the shortest room in all of the C-sides. Nice. It's kind of a meme, the second room of 5C. But this is just a lot of clever wall bouncing with the dash blocks. You can do a door skip there, but it's like so dumb. It is very hard. Just barely hitting these spikes. Again, like, the margin of error for these levels is very small. Particularly, that's very evident once we get to Chapter 7 C-side. That's definitely the hardest one in my opinion, but 5C is also tough sometimes, but thankfully we stuck with it. Going on to 6C. Of course, Chapter 6 is notorious for the feathers, so we'll use some of those. Just narrowly avoiding these spikes. It's always a little scary. This room is not fun. But of course, we also have Kevin blocks. Which will navigate quite cleverly here to bring to the bottom of the screen. Oh no! Died just barely at the end there. That's unfortunate. There's a checkpoint once you pass that section, but I was just a little short of said checkpoint. You know, honestly, it happens. This is what I want to do much faster, and I am not dead, so I consider that a plus. Being not dead is generally a good thing, but getting this heart would be better. So glad we got that done. Next is 7C. This is, in my opinion, this chapter has the hardest screen in the game. in my opinion at least. It's not this one or the next one, but the last screen of this chapter is quite notorious. And that is the room. Wow. First try. You can see a lot of very tight platforming there, but practice makes perfect. Alright, and just core seed to go. Again, you need 23 hearts to enter this chapter. So you need to have every other C side, B side, and A side heart collected before you can even enter this chapter. So it quite literally is the final challenge. And this room is pretty intense. This is the last room of the seaside. So basically we have the lava coming in from the up. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Lava coming from the top and the bottom of the screen. We need to constantly be hitting switches to circumvent this lava killing us. If this lava wasn't a thing, this room would be much faster because we could skip a couple of switches, but because of that, it's a little bit technical almost. Like here, I can't jump until Madeline's head was in the lava there, but fortunately she has high heat resistance. That's what we're gonna go for. Alright, and just a couple more hyper dashes. And that is going to be it. So yeah, that is Chapter 7 B-side, Chapter 8 B-side, and the C-sides all done. This course submission is part of the 100% relay, SGDQ 2020. I don't have a lot more to say other than, I don't know, it'd be cool if this happened. The setup might be a bit wonky, but hopefully can make it work. And yeah, I guess I'm just gonna stop this right here. Bye.